Hi again. Hello and welcome to episode 41 of the old 62. I'm I'm not feeling well. I don't want to do this. I um I have symptoms of like mild cold or maybe strep, but I don't have that. I don't know. So they put me on like I don't know what they put me on. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. Um but it's nothing real, so you know what I mean. Um, anyways, this video is gonna pull on some heartstrings. I know it's one of the things we're gonna be talking about is I think there's time travel involved in this one and like reality distortion, and I know someone loses the will to live and is later on just erased from, well, the person we're going to be talking about today just gets erased from existence. And yeah, when I first read it, I was like, wow, there's other reasons why I want to put this one on the list, and these things make me not want to put it on the list. So, let's be prepared for that. Today's episode is on Jon Ross, the son of Pete Ross. Who is Pete Ross? A friend of Superman. I see him in the thumbnail, the picture at the top of the article. So, Pete Ross knew Superman, and this is a very Earth One like. Don't you just hate it when ads take over the entire screen? And I backed out of it, trying to get back to the article, and I went back to before the actual search. So that screwed everything up. It was just the taskbar, but it was blank, so. Just hold on. Technical difficulties. Here we go. So who is Pete Ross? We need to figure that out first. It said in aliases he is Superboy and Megaton. I want to read about this, and like I'll fill you in on the basics because our video is about Jon Ross, his son. So the basics of it, Pete Ross is this guy that saw Superman change into his costume one day, and then he was met by the Legion of Superheroes, and they made him an honorary member of the Legion because he knew Superman's identity. And then some stuff happened that we'll probably talk about in this, and if not, then I'll mention it at the end. Because, wow, Pete's interesting too. And I wish I put him on the list now. So anyways, Jon Ross first appeared in Action Comics number 457, and last appearance was in Action Comics number 572. So that was 1976 to 1985. So that's a pretty good run for someone on the list. So, yeah. Alright, the first section of the history is childhood. Jon Ross is the son of Superman's longtime friend Pete Ross. his mother passed away when Jon was still young. When Jon would begin to lose the will to live, his life would be at risk, prompting Clark Kent to reveal to the boy that he is really Superman. At first, Jon would not believe it, until eventually Superman would convince the boy, restoring his will to live. I don't know about that. The boy would next become a target of Mr. Mixie. You know how hard it is to pronounce that, so not going there. Who attempts to impress Jon with his powers until Superman banishes the imp from Earth again. So, that's how that went. Sometime later, Jon would be kidnapped by the Nyrvin race. Nyrvin. That's hard to... I guess it's Nyrvin. I don't know. Prompting Superman to go to the boy's rescue. However, the Legion of Superheroes would stop the Man of Steel from rescuing the boy, telling him that he is destined to become a great champion in the future, bringing end to the Millennium War that would usher in the new era of peace the Legion comes from. So this is a different Legion. This is Earth 1 Legion. So since then we've had two major reboots to the multiverse. So there was Earth 2, but we didn't call it Earth 2 until Earth 1 came out. And then Earth 2 came back, and we recognized it as a different universe and a different continuity, so it became Earth 2, even though it came first. That's how DC is. Then another major reboot happened, and we had New Earth. Then another one happened, and we have Prime Earth now. So this is, I think it's within the time frame of Earth 1. So after DC's crash, after World War II, when they came back, when they started to come back, they created Earth 1 to sort of test the waters, to see if people really wanted comic books anymore. Because during World War II, when you don't really care about this, I can tell, but during World War II, when DC was making their comics based around current events, it didn't sell. So their whole franchise, or whatever you would call it, started to not do well. So they didn't do comics for a while, and then they came out with comics again, but it wasn't the comics that fans were used to seeing. It was completely different characters. The only ones that survived that was Superman and Batman. And Wonder Woman, but she experienced heavy changes. And Sandman, Wesley Dodds, comes back every now and then, but no one really cares about him. So, continuing. But I think this is Earth 1 time frame. In real time. Despite his reservations. Oh, I had a point. When I was talking about that tangent that I went on, where it says that Jon's sacrifice would usher in a peace era that the Legion comes from. Well, it's not that way in the new continuity. So, it's a completely different reasoning. The whole explanation of the time that they come from. So, just putting that out there. Despite his reservations, Superman would agree to this, and Jon would be left on the Nervin homeworld, but not before the Legion would inform the boy of his destiny. Jon's father, Pete, would not forgive Superman for leaving his son in space, and would pull Superboy out of the past and possess his body in a failed attempt to get revenge, being institutionalized thereafter. Yeah, they don't explain it as well as they did on Pete's article, so I need to say that because, wow, it was impressive. So what Pete did was he stole a machine owned by Lex Luthor, and this machine pulled people from the past, and you switched bodies with that person. It was like this person from the past exists again in the present, and you are in their body, is what this machine does. So he pulls out the Superman, or Superboy, I'm assuming of like earlier Earth 1, or maybe if there is a Earth 2 Superboy, I don't know. But anyways, Pete pulls the past Superboy into this world, and he takes over the body of Superboy. He attacks Superman, hosts a makeshift trial, gathers a makeshift jury of people like Lois, Jimmy, Perry White, and yeah, it's crazy. And Pete is driven mad when the actual Superboy comes back and stops it all. So, yeah, Pete just kind of gets institutionalized because at this point he's Joker level crazy. So, I like that story. I want to re-experience something more modern, a more logical take on that. But I like that story. However, with Pete's sanity continuing to diminish, thanks in part to the manipulations of Demoness Tala, which was not mentioned in Pete's article, someone get on that. Seriously, someone get on, like so many things that we've talked about in this series. Just watch previous videos, you should anyway. Superman would manage to resist fate and rescue Jon and reunite him with his father, with help from the Phantom Stranger, who was also not mentioned in Pete's wiki. So, Pete and Jon's reunion would restore Pete's sanity. Okay, so this video is actually beyond 10 minutes. Usually I start running out of content before I hit 10 minutes, and I have to scramble to find more content, and it's not appealing to you. So, I've realized that before. But anyways, thankfully, this isn't one of those days. So, I hope you like the character, or characters I should say, because I think Pete is just as interesting as Jon, if not more. But yes, I would definitely like to see either one of these characters coming back, because the story behind them and what they did, it's one of the better stories that we've talked about, for sure. I don't want to beat the bush, or whatever the term is, with the dead horse, but we talked about a guy with a camera for a head in one episode. So, yeah, there was that. So this is definitely one of the better stories that we've talked about. So, I'm glad that we did this, and I want your opinions down in the comments. I would love to read them. And I'll see you next time, tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow. I didn't want to do this video because I honestly feel like ill, but anyways, it doesn't really bother me that much, and I'll see who we got next time. for the video that we are hopefully doing tomorrow, we're not really going to be talking about a character, but more of a concept that has a story of its own, and it wouldn't be a thing without this construct. So we're going to talk about a construct. I don't want to go too much into detail with what that could be, because that would spoil, possibly, it would make you know what we're going to be talking about. So, it depends how privy you are to this older comics, you know, like pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths. That's what this series focuses on. Characters from that era that have not been seen since, for reasons that are explained, or maybe not. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, and peace.